Hi and welcome to E-ZTutoring. Today we are going to cover how to solve by completing the square. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with ax squared plus bx plus c. However, in completing the square, you want to rewrite ax squared plus bx plus c. You just want to change the c into plus b over 2 squared. So your goal is to write your quadratic into this form, and then once it's in this form, you can complete the square by writing x plus b over 2 and square this whole binomial. So that is how you complete the square. In general, your number for this will not be b over 2 squared. So what you want to do is you want to add this number, and once you're in this form, then you can just jump to this form and you're done completing the square. So now let's look at an actual problem. Let's say that we have x squared minus 8x plus 15 is equal to 0. Now, of course, there's many ways to solve this. You can use the quadratic formula, you can factor it, you can do a lot of things, but we want to do it by completing the square for the sake of this problem. So what we want to do is we want to find out what b over 2 squared is. So let's do b over 2 first. B is negative 8. Negative 8 over 2 is negative 4. So now what is b over 2 squared? B over 2 we know is negative 4, so we just square that and we get 16. So if we have 16 over here, if we have plus 16, then it will be in this form. And then once it's in this form, then we can complete the square. So we can only complete the square once we have plus 16. So now how do we add 16? There are two ways to do it. We will do minus 8x. You can either add 16 to both sides. However, I don't want to teach it that way for one reason, because you won't always have two sides. Sometimes you'll be given just an expression and have to do it just as an expression. So if you have just an expression, what you would do is you would want to add 16 and subtract 16 at the same time. And then, of course, you cannot forget about that plus 15. So 16 minus 16 is 0. So essentially, we just added 0, which doesn't change the value of this quadratic at all. All right, so now that we've gotten that concept, we only want to focus on this. Why? Because this is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus b over 2 squared. And then this is just separate. Negative 16 plus 15 just makes negative 1. So now dealing with this, now that we're in the form that we want, in the form that we like, we can then jump to x plus b over 2 squared. So x plus b over 2. What is b over 2? Negative 4. X minus 4. A lot of people will put 16 over here, but you need to be careful because this is b over 2, not b over 2 squared like this. It's just b over 2. So that is a super common mistake in completing the square. Now, of course, we cannot forget about this 2 up on the binomial. So look at that, we have just completed the square. We went from x squared minus 8x plus 16 to x minus 4 squared. Now, of course, they do want us to actually solve this by completing the square, so now you just need to use the square root property. If you're not familiar with the square root property, you can check out my video on that. But essentially all you want to do is get the square by itself on one side. And then once the square is by itself, then you can simply square root both sides. And square rooting will cancel the 2, and you'll be left with just the x minus 4. And now, of course, if we square rooted the left side, then we have to square root the right side. And what's the square root of 1? It's not 1, it's plus or minus 1. That is also another super common mistake that is made in problems like these. So this will give you two equations. One of them will be x minus 4 equals 1, and another one will be x minus 4 equals negative 1. From here, you can simply add 4 to both sides and get that x equals 5 and x equals 3. So x equals 5 and x equals 3 are your two solutions to that quadratic, and we just solved it by completing the square. That is how you complete the square, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you guys ever want ACT or SAT help, be sure to visit my website, www.e-ztutoring.com. Thank you guys, and have a good day.